Hello everyone, my name is Allison and I'm going to be teaching you guys how to create this really cool dragon egg box from our Fairies and Dragons 2021 summer camp. So we're going to be doing our little box here that's included in your kit. What you guys will need besides your box is going to be some big brushes. I have a fan brush here, but any brush will do. I just had a lot of those here. And a toothbrush. Then you're going to need a palette or a paper plate or piece of tin foil, anything to put your paints just on something. Some water to wash off your brushes, and that's pretty much it. So let's get started. Okay, so our first color we're going to be using is color number 14, which is our lightest green color. I'm going to be taking my brush and dipping into that. And then focusing on about the top half of the lid of the box. I'm going to be just painting, good coat there. Now we're going to be doing what we call our ombre technique for these pieces, which means we're going to blend our colors together to create kind of like a seamless blend, so it looks really cool. So just on the top half of the lid, we're just going to be putting one little layer of our lightest green. And then on the second half of the top, we're going to be taking color number 55, which is our next lightest color after I shake it up here. And again, I'm just going to use a different brush just to save on time. Where you're going to dip into your color, and then what's really cool is you can actually just put your hand inside of your lid there, so that way you can get all around it. But right under that first color, we're going to be painting our second color. Just like that. And you want to make sure to get all the little white spots that you see and fill it with color. Don't worry about blending it right now. We're going to be blending a little bit later. Just right now, we're just going to get a nice base coat of the colors on there, making sure there's no white on our piece. And if you guys have painted here before, usually we talk about how you should put 3 layers of paint on everything that you do. So we're going to be going through and we're going to be blending our colors 2 times after we put on this first layer here. So I'm going to let that dry. And then on our bottom, on the top half of our bottom, we're going to be taking our color number 59 here. And a brush. You can put your hand inside of your egg like that, super cool. So on the top half, I'm going to be painting in our next blue there. So it's going to be a really cool kind of blue-green ombre deal. It's going to look super cool when we're done. But like I said, I'm just putting on our color there, just to get a nice little base layer of color. And make sure, yeah, like I said, you cover all of the white spots. It's important. If I do go a little too fast for you, you can always pause the video and rewind the video or anything. So that way, if I'm going a little too fast, you can keep up with me. But I got that color. And then for the bottom half of the base, we're going to be taking color number 39, which is our darkest blue. We're going to dip and paint. This is a really pretty color, and this one's kind of like a blue-green, so it really ties in those blues and those greens together. But like I said, we're just painting one good coat on there. Don't worry too much about being exact or anything. We're going to be blending the colors together, so don't worry. But now that we have all of our colors on our piece, I'm going to be taking our lid again in our lightest green, that number 14. I'm going to put a nice thick coat of paint on there. Now for our ombre, wet paint will blend and dry paint will not blend. So you want to make sure that your paint is wet. And what I mean by that is not grabbing any water, but just adding more paint on your brush. Once your stuff is too dry, it's not going to blend together. So I grabbed a nice thick coat of number 14 here, and I just put that where number 14 was. Then I'm going to take my color number 55 here. I'm going to put a nice thick coat right underneath it, just like that. So just like we did before, but since the paints are more wet now, we can start blending. Now what we can do is we can kind of paint in a little bit of an X motion like this to get the colors to blend together. So you want to kind of go up and down, side to side, but just get those colors to blend really nice together. And so you can kind of see, it's a little wet and it's a little dull right now, but you can kind of see that those colors are nicely blended now. You'll get to see that better on this one. Oh, got a little bit. Just blend that away. But that's our lid. And now for our base, we're gonna go back in with our lighter color. I think I'm gonna need some more of it. And when you're going on your second coat, don't be afraid to kind of overlap your colors a little bit. That'll actually help your blend. We're gonna go and we're gonna nice thick coat of paint. Like I talked about, if you find that your colors aren't blending together, just add some more paint. Okay, so I got a nice thick coat on there. I'm gonna grab my other color, put them right next to each other. Don't want to overlap. You want to get the whole thing wet first before we overlap. Perfect. Okay. And then so this color is so dark, I'm actually going to go in with my lighter color with that brush. I'm just going to start blending the edges here. Make our little X motions. Get that color, blend it all up there. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to wash off my brush because you see all that dark color on there. And I'm going to take my lighter color, I'm just going to swipe and just push that darker color back down. You see how it was like way up here? So you wash your brush, you get your lighter color, and you swipe to push that darker color back down. So you don't want to push this up because then your darker color is going to get where you want your light color. So you always want to like swipe down like this in order to do that. With this stuff, with this one you don't have to do that just because the colors are so similar. It's just that this blue-green is really dark, so we want to keep that kind of contained in where we want it. So that way our whole piece doesn't end up that dark color. So I'm just going to blend it a little bit more by just doing nice long brush strokes back and forth. So you can see how these are nice and blended. How before there was that harsh line. But now it's all nice and blended. I'm going to grab a little bit of that blue-green just to make sure that that color is down here. But then there we go. So I am very heavy-handed with paint, which is really good with the ombre actually, because that way you can blend it the easiest. But if you are not heavy-handed like me, I would definitely do one more layer of this. So you just do the whole process over again. But since I put a lot of paint on my piece, I'm just going to do 2 layers like that. I'm going to take the darkest blue and I'm going to paint the bottom. And I do definitely 2 coats on the bottom. But then all your colors are nice and blended. So now that that's there, I'm going to let that dry and we'll be right back for our next step. Okay, so I know I said I'd be back when it was dry, but just I want to show you guys one more thing here. So on the very bottom of this one is that little bit of blue on the lid. So that way when I open it, you kind of see it better. And there's more of that 59 blue, so that way it blends when you close it. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take some more of that 59 on a brush, And then I'm going to wipe most of it off so it's like very light. I don't have a lot of paint on there. And then I'm just going to go and just put that on there. And there's not a lot of paint on my brush, like I said. I'm wiping most of it off because if there's a lot of paint on my brush, then we have to go through an ombre again. But there's just a little bit of paint, then you can just see a little bit of blue. So that way when you close the box, that it won't, it will look like it all blends together. And then I'm going to do that same thing with that middle color, just right above it, just to blend it just lightly. And I know, like I said, that I talked fast and everything, so if you want, you can watch this video one more time. If you were a little bit confused on how the ombre works, you can watch it one more time before you go in and paint your piece. And I know, like I said, I talked really fast, so I'm just going to explain it one more time. I'm actually going to set these pieces aside so I can show you on this table paper here. So the ombre, you have to do it really fast because, like I said, the wet paint is what makes it ombre. That if I let it dry too much, then it wouldn't have ombreed. So we take our first layer, or first color, excuse me. We put it where we want it. And then our second color, we put that where we want it. And then our third color. And our fourth color. So now that we have our colors where we want them, you want to go back in. See a little bit more of that one. You want to go back in with your first color. Make sure your color is all nice and wet. And go back in with your second color. Make sure that one's all nice and wet. Then you want to go back in your X motions like this and blend them together. So you can do an X motion, or you can do those big motions like that. That will make the colors blend together. Then you're going to take your third color and get that one wet again, because sometimes it dries on the bisque. And your fourth color. And then, like I said, I'm going to use this brush to blend it because the other color is really dark. You want to make little X motions with your brush like this, or big long strokes, whichever way you like best. But that's how you blend the colors together. So I'm going to let my box dry a little bit more, and then we'll do the last step, which is that cool black speckles on the top. We're going to do that with our toothbrush. So I'll be right back. Okay, so the top and the bottom of my box has dried. So we're going to do our little really cool speckles. So I'm going to grab black, our number 31 here, put it in my palette. And then I'm going to take my toothbrush, I'm going to dip it in my paint like this, so that way I have paint all over my toothbrush. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and take my thumb. I'm going to run my thumb along the toothbrush like this. And you see how that splatters? You can see it on my napkin really good. How it splatters, see? But you just take your toothbrush and run your thumb over your toothbrush to create a really cool splatter look. And that's all you need. And you only need to do like one layer of this because black is a really dark color. And then for speckles, you don't need to do more than one like layer, if that makes sense. But now our box is all finished. So that's kind of what it looks like before we get it fired. I'll kind of tip it here. Looks like before fire. And this is what it's going to look like when it's done. Pretty cool. Alright, you guys, we are all finished. Once you're done with your box and everything, you can bring it back to Color Me Mine, and we can get it all nice and fired for you, get it all nice and shiny like our after. It's important that you bring it back so that way it gets all nice and shiny for you. If you have any questions or anything, you can always give us a call or anything, or I can ask for a parent's help. But you guys have a good rest of your day, and make sure to check out our other videos for the Fairies and Dragons Summer Camp. Bye!